Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Sneaks Rhymes Life, now in season two. So welcome. Hopefully everyone's good. So what a interesting weekend of sports. Now, July is supposed to be a very quiet month when it comes to sports, but COVID has changed a lot of things. And what has COVID changed? Well, we have the WNBA in high gear right now. We have the NBA conference finals that have just now wrapped up and now going into the finals. We have people trying to qualify in a variety of different disciplines for the Olympics. We got the MLB All Star Game. So let's just get into it and talk about what's happening. And again, Sneaks Rhymes in Life, where we're going to talk a whole lot of life, but I think some of the other elements will sneak their way into it. So can't really talk about much without starting about with this Sha'Carri Richardson controversy. So for those that don't know, Sha'Carri Richardson, unbelievable track athlete. Um, not the tallest sprinter we've ever seen. She's not built like, Usain Bolt or Flojo of the 80s and the early 90s, but she is an absolute sprinting dynamo. Like she has run some of the fastest times we have ever seen in the women's 100 meter. But she just went through the USA trials, blew away the field, and she's got like, how do we say this? Her top end speed when she hits 60, between 60 and 80 meters is like faster than any woman on the planet. It's unbelievable. And I think so many people, including myself, were, anticipating what would happen when she got to the Olympic Games and what would happen. Now, I got a lot of feelings about the Olympic Games. I've broadcasted them. I'm not watching them this year. I think that there's a lot of things I'll get into in a moment why I kind of sit on this pedestal. But let's talk about Miss Richardson. Let's keep it rolling. So, her mother recently passed, which is very, very unfortunate. And she got the news, from what I gather now, a reporter, that her mother had passed. And we know that the drug rules in track and field are very tight. Um, she decided to use marijuana. And with that, she was tested and she failed the test. So based on all the circumstances, and again, that's still very cloudy right now, because she did smoke it in the state of Oregon where marijuana is legal, but this now carries a ban that will have her miss the 100 meters in the Olympics. Now, I still think she'll be able to compete in the 4x1, but that's not the same. Shelly Ann Fraser, among other track athletes, we're looking to go head to head with her in the 100, and we know that the 100 meters, both men's and women, is kind of the pedestal event of the Olympics. So that's not happening. But a lot of athletes have reached out. Dwayne Wade, a variety of other people. Odell Beckham Jr. I saw comments from. I saw from a variety of sports publications. All have said that this is wrong. The rules are archaic, and they need to change. Now, that might be true. That might be right, but I don't want to be one of those rule guys. But the rules are the rules, and that's what they're saying is what the decision is. They're not overturning it. She's gonna miss the event, and hey, I think sometimes it needs to be someone's tragedy, or you know missing out on something for them to go back and ultimately change what the rules are. The world is so much different now with marijuana, but fortunately she's going to miss the games, and the IOC is not changing their mind. I know there's a lot of support for her, a lot of feelings on what should, that she's been, mistreated and this is not right. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where she stands right now, that she's going to miss the 100. Like, I wouldn't say she's a shoo-in for the gold medal, but this was the greatest sprint medal hope that the US has had, probably in the last 20 years. So, when it comes to, at least on the women's side. They've had a lot of other elite sprinters on the men's side, but this is what things look like right now. So, going to phase two of all the things that are happening in the Olympics. There's a couple Nambian athletes on the women's side that have tested with levels of testosterone that are too high. So, are they taking drugs? Are they, thinking about life choices and potentially, you know, I know we've had a ton of negativity towards transgender people, but I just don't think that, is the IOC's rules too stringent, too negative? Because it's like multiple 400-meter sprinters out of this country that have been eliminated from the games. So, to me, it's kind of crazy, but we got to figure this thing out, and hopefully there's a reverse of the decision. But again, as I mentioned with Sha'Carri Richardson, there's the rules and the how the IOC governs is very, very stringent. So let's go to my next point. This is really the reason that I'm not watching the Olympics. The IOC is so dead set against any type of demonstration, any type of support of anything outside their particular rules. So they've already announced that there will be no black fists put in the air, no kneeling, no Black Lives Matter paraphernalia worn on the grounds during the Olympics. So it to me, it just, what we've gone through in the last several years, but really what came to light in the last 13, 14 months, I think is extremely insensitive. It is, yes, the games are about all for one and one for all. And I totally get, what some people's feelings may be about the Black Lives Matter organization. But the Black Lives Matter movement means something. And to me, I just drawn the line in the sand, and I love the Olympics. I love the 100. I love the swimming. I definitely love basketball. I love ice hockey. Might be the best event, period, in either type of games. But I just can't, like, for an organization not to have freedom of speech for those that want to, empower those that are black like myself. I just can't support it. And then the IOC goes as far as now saying that they've designed a new swim cap that is, better suited to hold braids and a black woman's hair. And it's extremely hard to get a regular swim cap and say, oh, it's an advantage that they're getting. But everyone else is wearing a swim cap, and now the swim cap is banned. So, like to me, that the IOC is, I'm not saying we're talking about giving black people a break, but is so stringent that they can't see the greater picture and how this affects one particular part of what we call the world. And we are looking to have a couple things happen, and they're saying no to everything. So the IOC doesn't need my eyes on their Olympic Games. And hey, I'm sure I'll see stuff on Instagram. I won't be surprised if I get caught up and share some, but I am not watching one event, period, like I normally would. I would be watching hours of the Olympics. I am going to do everything possible not to engage on the Olympics whatsoever. And, going back to Sha'Carri Richardson again, like, we, Michael Phelps is one of the most decorated athletes of all time, and he also used marijuana, not in competition though, but has. And Sha'Carri Richardson is now ostracized, where Michael Richardson is a national, or Michael Phelps is a national hero. So I don't know, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to move on. So speaking of marijuana, let's talk about real quick Josh Gordon. So he is on indefinite suspension. He's been suspended from the NFL 5 times, and he is asking to be reinstated after being failing another drug. Now Josh has got lots of issues. He is trying to turn his life around. I totally get it, but I'm okay if they let him back in. But if I'm an NFL team, why would I take the chance? He was a drug dealer in college, and I looked this up, so I'm not making it up. He's a drug dealer in college. He needed to do stuff to get by. He came to the NFL, played all 16 games, had one of the most amazing receiving years of all time, double-digit touchdowns, 1,600 yards. But now Josh then played 14 games, so 30 games in the first 2 years. He's then proceeded to play about 28 games since then. So, and that was in like 2011. So in like the last 7 years after that, he's barely played 2 seasons. So he's just unfortunately had a ton of chances and it just hasn't worked out. If he lands a job, great. If I'm an NFL franchise, I'm not signing him. How do you trust a guy that he's going to be able to stay on the straight and narrow? It's like, I know people have chimed in on a post that I had on Facebook about it, and like like people pay money for people to perform, but if this guy's being suspended and he's going to be distraction to your team, why would you give him an opportunity? And hey, I hopefully he lands on his feet. He ends up doing something, whether he gets a job in the NFL or he does something else with his life. But if I'm an NFL team, I'm not giving Josh Gordon another chance. It's like, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 5 times, and I'm going to give you a sixth chance. Well, I think there's a good idea that you'll know how this will land. So um, for you to decide, that's my opinion. If I'm an NFL team, which I am not, so let's be clear, I'm not giving him another chance. So then flip back to the Olympics, we'll talk about basketball really quick. So we got the NBA finals and then we got Team Canada. So Team Canada, um, you know, difficult times for the ladies at the pre-tournament that they finally announced their roster, but they only ended up with a fourth, played 2 very hard games in the semis and then the third round. So I think lots of possibilities when they really go for gold in the Olympics, but they came up short. But the men, and unfortunately, we saw Andrew Wiggins actually play some very good basketball, but the problem is that this was like the last chance tournament for this team, and they took so long to get the right talent to kind of make it to the Olympics. Finally they got Wiggins, and sure they could have used Jamal Murray, who's out with an ACL, and Trey Lyles, and so many other players that stepped, RJ Barrett included, that finally joined the team. And I think them not making it, and they lost in overtime, and that eliminated them and any chance of them being part of the Olympics. I think they can learn if they start to work together and build some chemistry over the next couple years. We will see a very good Olympic team. All of these guys are in their mid to early 20s, and give them another 4 years, and I think they could definitely make some headways. Who knows? They could actually even get to the podium like we've seen the women's team. So now we got the NBA finals, and it has kind of been, people are talking about the finals like, oh well, I didn't pick this final. I picked Brooklyn and the Lakers, or I picked the Jazz and Brooklyn, or I thought the Sixers would get there. But now we got the Bucks, and now we got the Suns. Now both of these teams were top tier teams. You know, the Bucks were what, the third seed, um, and the Suns were, after an amazing. They've been the best team in the NBA since the bubble. They went 8-0 in the bubble. They got eliminated in the last day, and now added Chris Paul and Jay Crowder, and Jay Crowder is extremely underrated. A 3-and-D guy who makes things happen, but Chris Paul is really the one that stirs the drink. Now you add him with Ayton, and obviously Devin Booker is an elite scorer and an elite player at the two guard. They got a real good team. They got a team that can win the NBA title. And they're now playing the Milwaukee Bucks now. They've had some injuries with Giannis, um, but you can see Chris Middleton and how well he's performed, and really is their go-to person, down the stretch. But they definitely added some pieces. Brooke Lopez is been really good. Um, throughout, and some of the pieces they added in the offseason have definitely paid off. No, look no further than Drew Holiday. He has made an extreme difference when the team has gone cold. Being able to defend the team's best player, make timely shots, and create his own shot has been absolutely immense. So I think we're in store for a really, really good NBA final. No, it's not the fanfare. We don't have two major markets now. Hey, Phoenix, it's the 10th biggest population in the United States, but it's not New York, it's not Boston, it's not Philly, it's not either one of the LA teams. Um, so I think we got something special here. So it should be. I got Suns in 6. It easily could go 7 if Giannis is healthy. But it'll be very interesting how this final plays out. And the unique thing is that the Suns have been to the final, I think, once or twice. The last time they were there with Barkley and Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson back in '93. And then, that was Barkley's MVP season. And then the Bucks haven't won since like 1974. That was 47 years ago. So we're in for an interesting final. They got some interesting storylines. Chris Paul, after almost, over 16,000 minutes and 16 seasons, he's now in the NBA final. And people love Chris Paul. He's worked super hard. He's his fifth NBA team. He's definitely made a difference on so many different teams, but be very interesting to see how this pans out. We also have free agency, which is a lot of interesting things happening. It's like, hey, is Dame leaving? What's happening with all the coaching carousel that looks like it's finally settled down. And unfortunately, we did not get a woman to be a coach. Becky Hammond, which I was really pulling forward to nail the Portland job or the Orlando job, or I don't think she's even going to get the Pelicans job. Going to have to wait a little bit longer to get that coaching job, but hang in there, Becky, and hopefully you do nail it. But I don't know why we just can't move the needle and just have a woman as a coach. They make there's some great assistant coaches, like, but why do not have one yet is really beyond me. We have some, Dawn Staley would also be an amazing NBA coach, and yeah, she's coaching college, but clearly is a winner and capable, and would have all the credentials. She's got gold medals and all of that. So we just need to look at moving the needle and pushing things forward and finding how we can have a woman as a coach. So let's really, again, think it through, and who knows what happens in the near future. Coaches always seem to get fired throughout the season. Would that trigger something possible that we have our first woman as a coach? So, but again, back to free agency. So Dame, does he want out? Kawhi, could he opt out? He might opt out. Where is he going to go? Like, he already sold the Raptors up the farm, and after and not repeating, and went to LA and didn't work out. LA was close. The Clippers actually got to the conference final for the first time in their history, and Kawhi was injured. And could they have made the finals if he did play? We'll never know. Call it what it is. There should be no asterisk on this title anyway. And then we got lots of free agents out there. Reggie Jackson was absolutely amazing. He's going to get paid. DeRozan's going to get paid. Obviously, where's my boy Carmelo going? Is he going to LA? Is he going to Brooklyn? I hope he goes to the Knicks. Please, Carmelo, come home, come to the Knicks. But things didn't. I wouldn't say things didn't end well in Portland, but they got outed before they thought they would. So we already know the whole blackballing and no opportunity, and Portland gave him a chance. But I don't know. Does that mean any of the other 30 plus teams want to give Carmelo a chance and put him in on a team? So who knows? Well, I guess time will tell, and we'll have to figure that out. And then we got the MLB All-Star game. So you're not watching. I'm watching because at least from afar, haven't really locked in on baseball yet. But Giants are really, really good this year, and they got a couple All-Stars, including seeing Buster Posey start again. And then the Jays are cooking right now. Been a little up and down as of late, but they got 3 All-Stars. They got Hernandez. They got what's his name? Simeon, the second baseman, who's I think is gonna start, and then Vlad Guerrero. And again, many of my friends, including my boy Daryl Power, we talked about Vlad, and he just was overweight and not hitting his potential. Man, outside of Otami, Vlad is unbelievable right now. He's second in the MLB in home runs. He's actually in the conversation for a triple crown. He's second in home runs. He leads the AL, if not the majors now in RBIs, and he's like second in average. He's only 4 points behind the leader. I think it's Brantley. So hats off to the Jays for sticking with their young guns, adding some pitching talent, and who knows? The Jays may make it back to the playoffs again, but we are seeing a change in the garden. We got some guys. Obviously, they got Springer this year, but we got Bichette and many other guys that can contribute. So they got a nice little lineup there, and hopefully they can stay healthy. And we'll see where they end up. We look at the WNBA, and again, we've seen the Storm and the Aces dominate the league. If you didn't watch the game on Sunday night, in a blink of an eye, the Sparks and the Storm are going head to head, and all of a sudden, Sparks are up by 7. It's like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then they changed their defense, and then Breanna Stewart just hit shots, and right now she's got my vote for MVP. She is like cool as a cucumber and lights out. Like, Kevin Durant is the Breanna Stewart of the NBA. Breanna Stewart is just unbelievable. I have not seen now. Well, I have seen, whether it's Yelena or you see when Diana Taurasi is healthy and cooking, but Breanna Stewart is in a league of her own right now, in my opinion, and is absolutely incredible. And we'll see how things end up for the Storm, and can they repeat as NBA champions or WNBA champions? But hats up to Storm. They just look phenomenal. They got bench players coming off the bench last night, contributing 20 points. So and then obviously they have the legend Sue Bird. So things are looking good for the Storm at this point. And then we can't finish talking about sports without talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. It's been an amazing run for the Montreal Canadiens, and no one saw them beating the Leafs, but they put the boots to the Leafs, and then I've been on this amazing run to get to the finals. But right now, the Lightning look like in a class of their own. They're up 3-0. It was a slaughtering game 3, 6-3, and it didn't look close. Like, I don't know if Montreal's just out of gas, but I wouldn't count them out yet. Carey Price has stolen 3 series already because of his stellar play, and they play great defense and have timely goal scoring. But the Lightning are so deep. So until you win four, the series is not over. And some ridiculous things we're hearing that the Lightning should throw game three or throw game four so they can win at home. You win four however you can get it. So I guess we'll see what happens tonight in game four and how things wrap up. But that's my sports wrap up for Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. We got lots of things. The hip hop community was all over some of these Olympic things right now. So it's funny how sports and sneakers and some of the brands like even Nike, supporting Shakira Richardson, standing hand in. So Sneaks and Rhymes definitely supporting a lot of things that are happening in the sports world. We all know that rappers want to be ball players and ball players want to be rappers. So for forevermore, they'll be intertwined. But thanks for listening to Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. Enjoy sports, stay safe, and it's been very hot as of late. Looks like it's a little cooler this week, but enjoy the weather. It's summertime and it's a little better with COVID right now. So for now, peace.